lounging, son.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Comic Lounge Podcast. My name's Ryan, and as always, I have my co-host, your friendly neighbor, Bot, with me. And today, going to be talking about Future State Week 2. Much like we did last week, we're going to continue through this month and next month, covering each week of Future State, give our thoughts, what we liked, what we didn't like, and how that's going to lead into DC's Infinite Frontier, which as the days are going on, I'm getting more excited myself about the stuff. I mean, I think they announced a couple more books, the Tom Taylor Dark Knight miniseries. There was something else I got emailed about. Oh, the Green Lantern book, the ongoing that they announced officially, right?
Is Grant Morrison stepping down?
Well, yeah, Grant Morrison was always going to just do season 2 of his Green Lantern book, and that's done, right? So 12 comes out in March, I think, is when that one comes out. And then Jeffrey Thorne, who's writing the Future State Green Lantern book, is going to take that over. But I like that they have Jo from Far Sector. She's going to be in the book. Teen Lantern's going to be in the book. So that's pretty cool.
I mean, I'm super late to the party. I really need to read Far Sector, but like everyone who I know has it on their poll, like scream to the high heavens about how good it is.
It's phenomenal. I had it on my poll for the first 5 issues. I sold those because I'm like, you know what? I want this collection when it comes out, and I don't need both. You know, it's not necessarily I kind of wish I would have kept it because I feel like eventually number 1 will be speculated on, and I probably kind of lost out on some money. There's quite a few things I've kind of missed the mark on because I sold it too soon, but it's a phenomenal story. It's so awesome. It's her first N.K. Jemisin, I think is how you say her name. It's her first comic book, but she's won so many awards for her novels. And Jamal Campbell on art. I mean, talk about chef's kiss, dude. You know what I mean? Like, he's amazing. But yeah, I like that character. She was in this week's Justice League.
I really liked her in this week's Justice League. I was like, hell yeah.
Wait till you read Far Sector. Like, when that collection comes out, we're going to have to do an episode on that because it is such a great book. It's so different from all the rest of DC stuff. Mario, who's not a DC guy, like, he said that was one of his favorite books of 2020. And that's high for him. That's very high praise.
That's very high praise. All he does is bash DC.
He hates DC. But let's get into Future State. Let's talk about. I'm just going to go in order that I kind of put these books in on my desk right here. So let's talk about Teen Titans. Let's talk about that book first.
Let's talk about Teen Titans.
Highly speculated book this week, and because of the first appearance of this new Red X, anybody listening doesn't know Red X was a character on the Teen Titans show, not Teen Titans Go, but the show that preceded that, and it was Dick Grayson. He was going undercover to dismantle Deathstroke, and he adopted this new identity. So them bringing that character to the comic books, I was really intrigued. I'm like, okay, how are they going to do this? Is it going to, like, how are they going to connect it? How are they bringing it in? And to my surprise, they did make it a Dick Grayson thing. Like, he did have this identity. They don't really talk much about it other than he had worn that costume at one point. I enjoyed the issue. I don't know what I was expecting. It was kind of all over the place because they jumped back and forth, right, between the past or the past in this potential timeline, and the present, right?
So the future and the much later future is basically how I perceived it. Like,
right. So I liked the inclusion of some Teen Titans that we hadn't seen in a while. Jakeem Thunder. I don't know if you're familiar with his character. He was in Jeff Johns' JSA run, so I've always been a fan of him. You had Red Arrow. You had some obscure characters, and I like
Chupacabra.
Yes, I forgot his name.
Who?
He was from Teen Titans in the New 52. Bunker. So
Bunker,
they brought, they got a
Bunker
few.
and Crush.
Right. So and Crush from this last Teen Titans iteration. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. I like the art. Rafa Sandoval. He's done some Flash. He's done some Green Lantern. So I'm a huge fan of his work. I thought the art was really solid. I like the potential of where this is going and how this is going to lead into Teen Titans Academy that comes out in March. Cyborg Beast Boy mashup was kind of weird.
Beast.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, so that was odd. I think Nightwing wearing his old school costume was kind of strange too.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how this came about.
Can we talk about Gorilla Greg? He's just mentioned. He's like when they're doing a little huddle when Corey's doing a little huddle. And he's like, all right, Gorilla Greg, you're with me. You're with Gorilla Greg and Brat Girl.
Okay, yeah.
Greg.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a fan of Teen Titans. I haven't really liked the current iteration. It wasn't for me. While it was cool that they introduced some new characters, Lobo's daughter, stuff like that, I'm a bigger fan of the classic Teen Titans. The last time I really liked Teen Titans was when Jeff Johns was writing it, because I feel like he really took what Marv Wolfman and George Perez did in the 80s, modernized it, and then added in the new characters from like Young Justice with Tim Drake, Connor, Cassie, and Bart. So this kind of gives me a little bit of those vibes where like this is almost the next step. The ending, though.
Oh yeah, that shit was cool.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it too much for people that haven't had a chance to read it, but dude, it was a really dope ending. And Shazam is in this. I already told you I read this week's upcoming Future State books. So Tim Sheridan, who wrote this book, is also writing Shazam, and that ties into this book. I won't get into it. We'll talk about it next week. Yeah,
I'll make sure I read that then.
Yeah, make sure you read that one for sure. But I like this. It's interesting. The concept is cool of a Teen Titans Academy. It feels like they're kind of riffing on both Avengers Academy and Strange Academy. A little bit of both. Because Avengers Academy more in the sense that it was, Junior Avengers, right?
Yeah.
This is kind of obviously Junior Teen Titans, but Strange Academy in the sense that you have teachers that are, superheroes in their own right. Yeah. So it's cool. It made me excited enough to keep it. I'm going to keep it on my pull. I'm going to check out the second issue, and I will even go so far as to say that I will pick up the first issue of the ongoing when that comes out. It's cool.
You're gonna get issue 2 with Red X sitting on a desk because that's getting spec'd on.
Wait, Future State 2?
I don't know if it's Future State 2 or if it's
it's probably.
It's either Future State or it's Titans Academy, where it's a cover with Red X sitting on a desk and he's like surrounded by a bunch of like Titan students.
Oh, I think that is Teen Titans Academy #1. I think
is
it
right. number 1 or number 2?
I think it's #1. There's no way. The solicits just came out yesterday. There's no way somebody speculated on it already. Yeah. I think it was probably for March, much like that Carnage cover by Pat Gleason that's being speculated on.
The Carnage cover and the Venom cover. You see the Venom cover?
Well, Venom you can only get from his shop, and it sold out within 2 minutes. So,
of course, it's Teen Titans Academy #1. You're right.
But I want to know, who is this Red X character? Is he is it a brand new character, or is it somebody that we've seen before that's taking on this identity? I think it would be cooler if it wasn't somebody new.
Yeah.
Kind of keep up the mystery, because if you just it's George, oh, who the fuck is that? And
then they go into a whole backstory as to why George is important.
Yeah, I don't want to
just make stuff up.
Yeah, I don't want to see that. So, yeah, I think it was a good book. Solid. Yeah. Definitely worth picking up if you get a copy of it. I know it's probably harder because of the speculation. But it was good. It was definitely a good.
Yeah, it was one of the more solid reads. I like seeing classic Titans favorites. I mean the whole Psy Beast, the amalgamation of Beast Boy and Cyborg was great. What was great about it is that they're both still there. They both still talk separately, but it's the constant bickering, but now they're literally one soul being, and it's just it's pretty funny. So I can foresee a lot of really good moments coming from this. This little Beast Boy Cyborg amalgamation.
Yeah. I mean, I've always loved their friendship in the comics. I think it's one of the great friendships. It's like Booster Gold, Blue Beetle. Yeah, he got their voices down pretty good, and like I said, it's a cool book, definitely worth picking up. And let's jump into Dark Detective. My favorite of the week.
Dude, it's tied up there with because I really liked Justice League, but I also really liked Dark Detective. Like it was those two books are my tops. Easy.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? You're right. I think it's tight.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that it was my favorite because I did enjoy Justice League just as much as Dark Detective. Mariko Tamaki writing, Dan Mora on art. I mean, holy shit, dude! Like this is, and this is like I've talked about. What is going to translate into March post Future State? And you can see by the creative teams. If the creative teams on the Future State books are writing the ongoings, then you know that these can have the potential to matter, right?
Yeah.
They have the potential to actually mean something going forward. And I liked her take on, Bruce is on the run. Everyone thinks he's dead.
And he's broke as shit.
Yeah, dude. So, I mean,
you know what I really liked about this? The revelation over Wayne Enterprises and how they contributed to the Magistrate and their takeover of Gotham. That shit was cool. I want to know. Like, that's
right.
That was some fantastic stuff right there. Like, magistrate.
Yeah, that's my only complaint. If I fucking see that word magistrate, look, I'm flipping through it right now, and I think magistrate is mentioned on almost every single fucking page. Yeah, that's the only complaint I have. It's like I just don't want to see it.
Right.
And it kind of, but I want to know who this Peacekeeper one is. Is it somebody that, like, now I'm starting to think, like, because they keep like showing that specific character. Is this somebody that we might know? Like,
yeah, because it's revealed in the Grifter story that they know that the Magistrate knows who everybody is. That there's no more secrets. Like, you know what I mean?
Is Magistrate somebody? Is that somebody we know too?
Yeah.
So,
you know what I mean? Like, so this is definitely like the whole Magistrate thing is definitely starting to pan out into something really solid and something like adding to the mystery, especially with prior stories, like with the Harley Quinn story and with the new Batman and how it's all playing in. Dude, this whole whatever's happening in Gotham right now. I'm super hyper focused on that. That's like one of my favorite things right now. All of a sudden out of nowhere, but I'm looking forward to it.
And I love the design of this like kind of tactical Batman too.
Urban warfare Batman.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. The short sleeve is it normally would bother me, but it doesn't in this. You know what I mean? Like, I want to know more about how he got to this place, right? Like, I know in current continuity, he doesn't have his fortune, all that stuff, but I want to know how he ended up here to where he is now pronounced dead, and everybody thinks that he's gone. Yeah, the Gotham stuff is starting to be more intriguing, and I think it was because of this particular issue, for sure. And then the Grifter story was pretty cool.
I love the Grifter story.
Yeah, Matthew Rosenberg and Carmine Di Giandomenico, whose art I really love from Flash. And Rosenberg got Grifter's voice down exactly how it should be. Like, if you read Wildcats in the 90s, or you even read the series that came after that, the second one with Joe Casey, or three, no. There was 3 series altogether, right? I think Wildcats 3.0 was the last time it was good, in my opinion.
Right.
But yeah, I love Grifter. I love his design. I like that we're seeing him back in Gotham because in the James Tynion Batman, he briefly made a cameo, but not much else. And like now it's fleshing out kind of why he's there. He was working for Lucius Fox, and here we get Luke Fox also. It's interesting to see if this is going to be played off, or if this will be mentioned in current continuity as well. Like, that's what I want to know. Like, why is he there? What is the deal? Why does he hate Lucius Fox? He doesn't want to even hear the name. You know what I mean? I do. I really. It's just a fun story. Nothing really consequential happens, but it's a really just fun.
I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, maybe you can answer this question, but is he getting a Infinite Frontier story? Because if he's not, I think that's a waste, because I love this whole soldier of fortune thing that he's got going. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, he's a mercenary, and I love that. Hired killer, hired gun.
What have you. Yeah. as we see with a lot of mercenaries, like via comics, like Grifter will always have a special place in my heart, and that has a lot to do with the Wildcat stuff in the '90s. Let's be real here, and I think that him being in the DC multiverse, like that, you can do so much with him. He can essentially be like, I see potential for him that that can go beyond what like Lebdel's Red Hood was. I think that he's a fresh enough character where you can build kind of a world around him, and it won't necessarily like sound. You can execute a really good backstory with him, and then integrate him not only with just the Gotham stuff, but you can integrate him with some Metropolis stuff. You can integrate him with some like Coast City stuff. Like he can really be the all around guy going to these different places and interacting with like all sorts of members of the Justice League. And I just feel like he'd be something great, and it wouldn't be like it would. And then off top, he already doesn't feel like a Deadpool like rip. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't think he ever was meant to be. I mean, I don't know if Jim Lee's ever mentioned like where the inspiration for this particular character came from, but I mean, it's just such a simple costume, right? He's just very tactical, like not a costume actually, but the only thing he wears is that mask, that bandana.
Yeah,
and that's it. But it's like
that's just iconic as fuck, though.
Yeah, and it's really dope. And I do hope that they integrate more of the Wildstorm characters. Just put them in the DCU at this point, because you're not doing a separate universe of titles, and much like they did when they bought the Charlton characters in the 60s or 70s, and they integrated Captain Marvel, right? Like those weren't originally DC creations, but they put them in there after they combined Earths after Crisis on Infinite Earths, and they put them in the history. You could do that with Wildstorm right now. I know they did it in New 52, but those were shit. And why don't you do some good stuff? I know that Midnighter's got a backup in Superman Worlds of War. I know that Authority was mentioned as well. This is the opportunity to do some cool stuff. You don't need to like put them all in at once. You can slowly build them out. I'm not saying like, do a Wildcats book, right? But you can still bring in some of these characters.
Although I would love to see some Zealot.
I mean, so would I. I would love to see a lot. I would love to see a lot of characters from Wildstorm, because there were some really dope characters. But yeah, this was cool, and bringing in Huntress at the end, kind of alluding to like Grifter having like some sort of a connection with her, because he's like, what he says, she's not someone you want mad at you. So like I like that. I would prefer if he had a backstory set in Gotham. I think that would be kind of cool, and it's the perfect setting for someone of his kind of personality, because it's so different from like a Batman, because he's a smart ass, much like Deadpool, but he's not.
Deadpool's silly.
Yes, he's not silly. He's funny, but not silly. And I was really pleasantly surprised at that story, to be honest with you. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. You messaged me at work, and I didn't respond to you right away, because I'm like, I'll message him after I read this, because I think you said, tell me why I want a Grifter book. I think that's what you said, right? So I told Nick, I was like, hey, I showed Nick I told him what you said, and I was like, dude, I gotta read this book. I think that was the first book that was on my pile that night, because I'm like, okay, I got to get to the Grifter story. I
read it as soon as I unloaded it out of the box. I was like, give me like 15 minutes. I'm going to read this real quick.
Really? Yeah,
I've never thought to ask. We got that particular Lunar box a little late. So I was like, hey, I'm going to read this real quick. Give me like 15 minutes. And they were like, it's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I immediately took a picture of that panel. I was like, Ryan got to see this shit.
I mean, that book, that was like a complete book where both the main story by, with Bruce and the Grifter story, both good. Like, that's why I don't like with some of these issues where I don't like every story, because then it's like, well, fuck, I'm paying like more than $3.99, and it's like, I don't even like the whole book, and, some of them are weak, which brings me to Green Lantern. I'll talk about that. I know you didn't read it.
I read like the beginning of it, but like
did you read all of the John Stewart story?
No. I only read like there's something, I don't know what it was. What was it about it that I couldn't get into it?
Okay, well then I know what it was. and I'll talk about it. So the John Stewart story, was, I guess it was cool. It was, I don't want to say it was interesting because it's not like we haven't seen this before. The Green Lanterns don't have their rings.
Yeah,
They don't have, like, they, for some reason, we don't know
they have
why.
lightsabers.
And like Jon Stewart's got like, not barbarian, but like he's got like braids and like a ponytail, and he's like wearing all this like not savage like outfits. I don't know how to describe it, but they're wearing like these weird
They look
and
like
stuff.
Starjammers.
That's a fair comparison. I would
Yeah,
agree.
they're like space cop pirates.
Right. And I think the coolest part of it, like, I mean, John's a great leader. So like
Yeah.
that was kind of cool. And Nort, who is usually a laughable Green Lantern, was kind of cool in here. Like they kind of made him more of a badass.
Yeah.
But the story to me, like, I can't even like truly tell you what I read. Like I kind of forgot it. And it doesn't seem like any of this is going to be picked up on in his Green Lantern. The art was good. Tom Rainey's art was good, but the story was kind of forgettable, if I'm being honest. I think, but the second story was my favorite, Jessica Cruz. I won't ruin it too much.
Oh, I need to read the Jessica Cruz story.
You do need it. It was the best one.
It off top has freaking yellow lanterns in it. I gotta read it.
Yeah, you have to. So that
and
story,
it's like, you know what I love about the yellow lanterns? How they're essentially like space monsters with power rings. Just all of them.
Yeah.
Every single one of them.
Yeah.
They're all just like evil space monsters.
Exactly. And Ryan Cady was a writer. Sam Bassler was an artist. Hi-Fi Colors, Dave Sharp on letters. She's basically on, I guess it's like a satellite, but it's, shaped like a lantern. But she's been there for 11 months. And and the Yellow Lanterns are coming there to get something. And Jessica Cruz does her thing. I don't want to like ruin this for you, so it's hard. But it was the best story, and I loved Jessica Cruz. Like this was such a great, like, because you know how she used to be like really in fear of herself, so she kind of talks about that and overcoming the fear, and just great story. And then the last story was a Guy Gardner story, and he's on another planet. People basically think he's a prophet. It's weird, and he's been there, and then like it keeps jumping in time, like so he's been there for a long time.
Don't tell me Green Lantern freaking Stifler is a freaking prophet, because that's just hilarity.
It's not. The aliens just think he is. But and then the last page has a character that we both love, and that's all I'll say.
I gotta read this. I'm gonna read this, and I'll get back to you.
Okay, cool. But yeah, like. It's kind of like last week. You read some of the titles that I hadn't read, and I went back and read it. I didn't read the Superman of Metropolis. I did read Harley Quinn, but you should definitely read.
What'd you think of Harley Quinn? Harley Quinn was pretty good, right?
It was pretty decent. The art. I see why it was confusing.
Yeah, yeah.
I talked to Kevin too. He felt the same way. Green Lantern. I think that. I wish I remembered the main because I read these on Monday, so that's not like I have them here to flip through, but. The main story just didn't grab me. It was the Jessica Cruz. And I think even a review on Newsarama mentioned the Jessica Cruz in their thumbnail. That was how they led the article. Or at least led, the little caption they did for the review. So definitely go read that. Anybody listening, I think it's worth picking up, if nothing else, for the 2 backup stories.
That's how I felt about Outsiders in the next Batman. The Outsiders easily was the better story.
The only good story. Okay. I mean, it's the only good story. Let's talk Justice League. Tied for our favorite book of the week.
It's great.
You know my love of Joshua Williamson, dude. You know how much I love him.
Joshua Williamson is great.
And I've been worried because this is all I'm seeing him do, right? This is the only thing announced. Now, I know he was doing a Damian backup story in March in Batman and Detective. I have to mention, though, real quick. That was my favorite announcement this week was his Robin ongoing. I'm so stoked to find out he's doing an ongoing book because he had said he had a bunch of stuff at DC that he was going to be doing, but he couldn't talk about it. And I was seeing no announcements. So I'm like, well, what's going on, dude? Like, where is he? But this was one of the books I like how DC
does their slow roll of announcements. It's like a slow burn for like a whole week.
Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily mind it. I'm glad they didn't drop all the books at once, like 52, like with New 52, where they dropped all 52 books basically in the first month. Like that was a lot of books, right? So I like that they're kind of slow rolling the Infinite Frontier line, but this Justice League book was one of the, I would say 3 or 4 books that on first announcement I was excited for, and it definitely delivered. I love this team.
Yeah, it's great.
Robson Roca on art. Love his art. His Aquaman with Kelly Sue DeConnick was really good.
Robson Rocha is like, honestly, if you don't follow, if you're not like, this is to all the listeners, if you're not following his Instagram and seeing like the extent of what this guy can do, like you are missing out, because man, some of the stuff that he puts together is like quite possibly some of the most beautiful freaking pencil work I've seen. And that's saying a lot, because there's a lot of fantastic artists out there, but like I feel like Robson doesn't get enough like attention like that. You know what I mean? He's not talked about enough. You know, I mean, granted, you have your Claymans and you have your Jim Lees and you have your, you have everybody, all these fantastic artists. But I feel like you really need to see some of Robson's stuff, dude. It's some phenomenal work. Ugh.
Oh, I agree. I mean, that's one of the reasons I loved Kelly Sue DeConnick's Aquaman run was him on art. You know what I liked about this team? It's not just the lineup, which, I mean, Yara Flores on it, right? We got Tim Fox's Batman on it. We got John. We got Aquaman's daughter, who I cannot wait for the Aquaman book. That's another book I'm really excited for by Brandon Thomas. Then we got Joe from Far Sector. We got that, was it Jess Quick, I think is her name, from a different Earth. I like how he broke down each of the members, why Jess Quick is here.
For the thing of the multiverse is she stayed for the Fallout.
Right, so that's interesting. What event happened, right, from that? Yeah. And then the non-fraternization, because of some event of a traitor from the past, was a really, really dope thing. Even though throughout this issue, they pretty much know who each one is, and they're not supposed to fraternize, and yet they do, right? Yeah. Like that's, but I want to know, like, what event triggered that to where, like, hey, we can't hang out with each other. Like,
and who it was, who the traitor was.
Yeah, so.
Dude. I want to know who the traitor was, because they're talking about like how the roster got so big. It was, they couldn't control it as well. Like, and it's true. Like, the Justice League is huge. Even right now, the Justice League is huge. Like with all the small factions.
Right. Like, they have their core, but you have Justice League Dark, you have Justice League Odyssey. And then obviously all the reserves. It's much like the Avengers, I would say, when Hickman was writing it. He had a shit ton of people. Like, they would just like switch in and out, right, based on the mission. Really hope that thread gets picked up on by somebody. I don't know. Like, I've heard a rumor that maybe Williamson might be writing like an Infinite Frontier ongoing, like maybe dealing with the totality. I don't like from Metal 7. Like, not necessarily is it going to be called DC Infinite Frontier, but like. I'm wondering if he will pick up on threads and have some sort of other offshoot team like that. That's a possibility, right? But overall, I really loved it. For me as a Flash fan, you probably don't know the character, but when they had the Legion of Doom with all these, like, you got Despero's daughter, the Screech Owl, which is like an offshoot of like from Court of Owls, but it was Cobalt Blue, who is a Flash villain from Mark Waid's run. Off top, I'm like, Williamson did that because he loved Mark Waid's run. You know what I mean? Like, because he's a huge fan of the run. But then he fucking kills them. Like, they're just like, they're all dead. And that's why this Justice League comes and they find them all dead. And the mystery of like why they got killed. I can't say enough good things about this. I think it was really cool. And I kind of want to see this team. I want to see this team past February. I wouldn't mind seeing a book set in the future, a future Justice League with Williamson writing it.
Honestly, I loved it. Like, I like the interaction. Like, I saw a better a better John here than I did in the Superman in Metropolis. Like you said, the whole no fraternization thing, that was cool. Like, I like how you talked about, like, Bruce and Diana would come over to the farm for dinner. Like, like so you see how important that kind of played into his upbringing and how he feels like that would build a better team. But at the same time, that kind of fraternization is kind of what dismantled the old team. And I really like that twist, you know what I mean? Because, especially with the Trinity, especially John being there to witness the closeness of the Trinity. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That I
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
that was really good, really, really, really well played. And then the reveal at the end as to what's going on, kind of like what's going on, that was pretty cool too. Yeah, dude. I mean, this is a solid story. I want to see more. I hope. I hope you're right. I hope someone does pick up on this thread. I also like how, when it's like a 9-panel page where they're kind of showing what each member is doing outside of the Justice League. Like Yara Flores, like singing karaoke, and then it shows John at the Fortress of Solitude, and it looks like he's trying to get in contact with Clark, but it says out of range. So I mean, that's basically like alluding to how Superman is like all in World of War. So
Right.
I mean, I love now that we're in like the second week, we can kind of see where the timelines are, because it was a little confusing to me at first as to where everybody was in different timelines set. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially with the solicits. It was just like, where is everybody now? So
Mhm.
now, like, it's kind of like the same thing with the magistrate and how it's finally starting to flesh out into something more cohesive and something more intriguing. So, I mean, that's basically what I could say about this entire week 2 rollout. The week 2 rollout is definitely helping make me more excited for Infinite Frontier and for the rest of Future State. This is all freaking cool stuff. And then
Justice League
League
Dark.
Dark.
Yes. I know. I
Justice
loved
League
it.
Dark.
You
That's
can
my
lead
team,
off with
dude.
this. Yeah,
That's my
I
team,
love it.
dude. I mean, Ram V, like he gets it. I feel like he was like one of those. He was like me, one of those kids who was watching horror movies when he wasn't supposed to be, because he just gets this whole mysticism part of the DC multiverse, DC
Yeah,
universe.
he really emulates like that early Vertigo characterizations of like the dark version or the dark characters like Swamp Thing and
Yeah,
Constantine and all that.
yeah. I mean, this happens in a couple pages, so it's not really ruining anything. But like you said when you messaged me, freaking Detective Chimp Bobo as the host of Etrigan.
I know. It's so awesome, dude. And you know what the funny part is like Etrigan does not want him to keep summoning him. He's like, dude, just stop.
Stop calling me here.
Yeah, he's like we talked about this, but he keeps calling him because he needs him. And like I love Zatanna. Zatanna's one of my favorite DC characters.
Yeah.
I love a lot of the last few years the way her character has been written. I like they changed her costume. They kind of like they got away with some of like the campier stuff, I would say. Like her just dressed as like a magician's assistant almost. The mystery of this is very intriguing. Seeing Zariel, the angel from like Grant Morrison's Justice League run all fucking like put up like that. And there's something going on with in terms of like all
Merlin.
the magic characters. Yeah, and all the magic characters are hidden off. Like it's just again, like I think I already talked about this, dude. Like I'm really pissed off. I've been missing on Justice League Dark. Like I really want to go back and read all of Ram V stuff because I dropped it with James Tynion and because I wasn't like enjoying it, but like I've heard nothing but good things about Ram V stuff.
And there's like little stuff in here too, like little stuff in here that like you can tell that he probably watches like those Ghost Adventures shits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like when he's talking about ley lines in old Las Vegas and he's talking about relics, like dude, this stuff it's so solid to what it's trying to depict as far as the supernatural. It doesn't feel like, oh, it's just ghouls and goblins and ghosts. No, it's way more than that. It's like, it's everything tied into it, especially with Zariel. Like that was crazy. I thought that, damn, they got him, bro.
Dude, what about Ragman?
Oh,
dude,
nuts,
the way
dude.
Yeah, I mean Ragman's always been kind of like a cool character to me, but like there's no souls left, and there's so fucking Etrigan just like puts a bunch of fucking souls from hell, and like you flip that page and it's just like this like demon Ragman, like which was really fucking dope. Like, forgot to mention the artist on here because I really liked Marcio Takara's art, just really dope. I just really love this story, dude. I don't want to say I was surprised, but I really, really enjoyed it, and I can't wait for more Justice League Dark. And the ending of this, like you have the two old men sitting on the bench and you don't even like really understand what their significance is. And then you find out at the end and why this particular character was in hiding. I don't want to ruin it because again, like it's still too fresh. And I know not everybody has had a chance, but dude, this is a dope story. This is again another book, full package. Like both stories are really solid.
And like I mean, I'll always have a special place in my heart for freaking John Constantine, freaking my favorite warlock.
Same. I love John Constantine.
Like he's great. I mean, I just like how he just makes his appearance. How it's literally a cigarette lighting, and then there he is.
Yeah.
You know what
he should always have a cigarette in his hand. Like that's John Constantine. Like if he doesn't have a cigarette in his hand, it's weird to me. I don't know.
I love how he's just like the epitome of snarky Brit. Like,
yeah.
It's great. I mean, and the fantastic twist at the end. Really great stuff, dude. If any of our listeners haven't read, Ram V's Justice League Dark, I strongly suggest it. It's like one of my, I proclaim a lot like throughout the history of our little podcast. Like I love horror, I love the supernatural, like all that stuff. It's great, and I think that DC has the most supernaturally rich, like stories and characters that it needs to be brought to the forefront. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there should be like a sub line of it, much like how Marvel does with their cosmic line, or they did years ago. I think that they need to have a supernatural line, like maybe at least two titles, maybe three. Right? There should be a Swamp Thing book, obviously. There should be a Constantine book, although people may argue that like Constantine in the DCU is kind of watered down, which I don't necessarily disagree with.
I don't disagree, but the thing is, like, you can execute a great Constantine story that isn't Vertigo worthy, that isn't like a Vertigo story without watering down the character itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
just as long as it's rich within the supernatural stuff and it doesn't like play out like a corny horror, like a straight to video horror movie, then you can get away with it.
Yeah, I mean, I also wouldn't mind like Constantine, maybe like a demon book or a Zatanna book, like characters that haven't had books in a long time, and even if it's like
give me Detective Chimp.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that either, dude. I would read that, or there was an old team called Shadow Pact, which was really cool that spun out of Infinite Crisis years ago. That would be cool too. But yeah, overall, I really loved this book. I'm excited to see the next issue. Excited to see Ram V's Justice League Dark backups that are going to continue on in the Justice League ongoing. But let's jump to real quick Superman, Wonder Woman. You didn't miss much. The art was good. Dan Waters was the writer. It just felt very disjointed. Layla Del Duca on art. Really good art, and it kind of talks about a little bit of like the Brazilian gods. They talk about that and
like Brazilian river gods.
Yeah, it's just didn't really grab me, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think they're gaining more prominence because of Yara Flor. I think that's what it kind of alludes to. I won't get too much into the details, but I was hoping for more. I was expecting it to be a little bit better after reading Justice League and seeing the relationship between Yara and John in there, and I just didn't get that same feeling. So, of all the books this week, this was my least favorite. I guess if you're a fan of the characters, pick it up. But other than that, I won't get too far into it anymore. I don't want to say I was disappointed. I wasn't. It was kind of inconsequential to me. I could have.
Wait. Speaking of inconsequential, we were just totally about to skip it. But did you read Robin Eternal?
Okay, we'll talk about that next. All right. I liked it.
Okay.
I love Tim Drake. Tim Drake's my Robin. He's my favorite Robin.
So it's Tim. Cool.
It's Tim. Eddie Barrows on art. Fantastic. More Magistrate stuff. Tim's trying to...
Is it necessary for me to read it to understand more Magistrate?
I mean, if you're liking the Magistrate stuff, I don't know why you would ignore this.
Okay, I'll read it. I have it right here.
He's trying to take him down, and Spoiler comes into the mix. Something's happened to her. She's got an eye patch on. We don't really know what fuck happened to her. And he tries to enlist her help. She says no at first. And so then he goes, which is kind of cool because it kind of harkens back to this series We Are Robin from a few years ago, and Tim reaches out to her now for help. Well, as they're on this mission, right? They're going up against this adversary, and Tim something happens to Tim at the end, and it'll be interesting to see if he's really affected by this event or not.
I'll read it.
I would read it.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. It was cool. It was a good issue, enough for me to want the second issue. I love Tim Drake, so like I didn't sub to it at first, but after I read it, I'm like, I added it. I added it to the pool. I know I don't want to be stuck with a bunch of Future State comics, but I guess down the line, if I want to sell them, I can sell them as like one lot of whatever Future State books I have. But it was cool. Definitely cool. Definitely fleshing out more of the Magistrate stuff, fleshing out more of like what's going on in Gotham. Why what his motives are for what he's doing, because you still got Nightwing out there, you still got Jason Todd out there, so like there's a lot of stuff we still haven't seen, so it's just kind of expanding, learning more about what's going on in this book and what the deal is with the Magistrate. And dude, Tim's just a badass. He's one of the best Bat Family characters. Did you read Kara Zor-El's Superwoman? You didn't read that either? I won't spoil that. Neither was I. And then I read it, and wow. Art, beautiful. Marguerite Bennett on writing, Marguerite Sauvage on art. Holy shit, dude. A cool take on Supergirl. She's kind of created her own, like, not civilization, but her own community on the moon. And she's basically, like, I wouldn't say ruling it, but she's the head of it, right? She's overseeing it. And then this other alien character comes into the mix, and Supergirl kind of takes her under her wing, much like Superman did with her when she came, right? And it really gets into, like, what Supergirl's about, her character, and her feelings on when she came, and she kind of was not needed, right, for Superman. And Superman kind of was the baby at first, but now he's like not overseeing her, but like he was her guardian in a way, right? And talking about, and then she kind of talks about Crypto and her relationship with him. But the art was breathtaking, absolutely beautiful. It was the surprise for me of the week that I didn't think I would enjoy, but I did, and I definitely want to check out the second issue. So I recommend you, anybody listening, since you didn't read it, Dylan, I don't want to go too far into it because I want you to be able to kind of
experience it.
Yeah, I wanted you to experience it without too much stuff going in. That's Future State Week 2. Yeah, dude, I'm definitely looking forward to next week. I can't wait to continue this series of videos with you, dude. It's fun, kind of, going through a line of books. To give our thoughts.
No, and it's a lot of fun, and like the same thing like last week, where all across the board, everything there's something there for everybody.
I agree.
That's like the best way I can say it. There's something there for everybody, and it's great. That's what comics like this is supposed to be about, right? Like this all feels fresh, and it feels very exciting for like fans, just all around fans, like people who I know who like usually don't read DC titles are picking these up. And it's cool. Like this is definitely sparking a surge in interest, and I feel like DC is so far they're executing extremely well.
Agreed. While not everything is amazing, there is a lot of hits. I would say more hits than misses.
Yeah, agreed. Next week's Future State stuff is like looking pretty solid too. We get the next Batman #2. Hopefully, the story fleshes itself out more. Gotham City Sirens are going to be in it. I'm pretty excited for that. Nightwing is something I'm really looking forward to, and of course, Immortal Wonder Woman. Dude,
I know. I really want to talk to you. I really want to talk to you about it, but I gotta wait. But okay. Yeah.
And then Superman, Worlds of War. That's something I'm really looking forward to too, as well. So like, it looks like it's just gonna be another solid week for the Future State stuff, dude. Honestly.
It's solid. That's all it was solid. But yeah, definitely can't wait for next week. All right. Well, if you're not already following us, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Comic Lounge. You can follow Dylan at The Dillbot on Instagram. Make sure you throw your comments or suggestions down below, or you can also email us at thecomicloungepod@gmail.com, and make sure you like, follow, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and hit the bell icon so you're notified every time a new vid goes up. And on that note, we're out.
Later, buds.